Is fear ever a motivator?
Oh, fear motivates everything I do at all times. It's
Is that true?
A constant engine, yeah.
So when I say that, what's the picture that comes to your mind?
I think it's just that sense that you're always waiting to be found out, that you're always, for me, that's what being an actor is about, sort of going, on one level, this is all a bit silly, and I can't really believe I'm getting away with this, and at some point, someone's going to tap me on the shoulder and go, come on, you've had your fun. Move on. There's some people who can actually do this. There's some proper actors in the world. Stop pretending and move on. You're a little wee nyaff from Paisley. You don't really get to do this.
It's funny that even at this place in your career that voice is still there.
Well, because there are no amount of good reviews that won't make you see the one bad one. And the one bad one is the one that will somehow resonate with you. You'll
be like,
keenly.
that's the truth.
Yeah, that's the truth. All these people who say I'm great, they don't know.
Right.
But I say that like it's a bad thing, and obviously on some level it probably is quite negative, but I don't hate it. I do see that. I think that there's an engine to that that's quite useful.
Right.
I think you feel it most keenly on stage because that's so in the moment. You know, you step out on stage and you're in front of an audience, and it's happening in that second.
Right.
That's where I've struggled most keenly with a sort of little demon's voice in your head saying, you can't do this, you can't do this. Not only can't you do this, you can't even, it is impossible to remember a sequence of words and repeat them in front of a group of human beings. That's not something your brain will start to convince you that's not something that it's possible for a human being to do, even though you're on performance 100 and you've already done it quite successfully. Your brain will start trying to kind of, I don't know what a therapist would tell me about this, but that your brain starts to try and undermine you. I'm talking about my brain like it's not connected to me, aren't I?
Yeah.
Like it's some sort of separate demon. I've been on stage kind of reciting lines that I know very well, and at the same time composing the speech in my head, where I'm going to have to turn to the audience and go, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so sorry. It turns out I can't do this anymore, and I'm going to have to go and probably retire. So thank you very much for coming. I'm sure we'll manage to refund your tickets. I'm going off stage now to jump off a cliff.
That's the exact definition of your brain undermining you. And I've played in bands a lot in my life, and it's the same thing with songs you've sung 100 times.
Right.
And then you get to the beginning of the second verse, and just thinking, could I forget this?
It's giving me the heebie-jeebies just as you describe it. Absolutely.
Is that true?
Yeah. And singing, I haven't sung a lot, but the last time I did a play, there was a little song in it, only a little song, but that was the bit every night I got terrified about. I guess you can take the pressure off yourself slightly if it's a long speech, because you can pace it yourself and you can.
Right. No, that second verse is coming after the chorus.
Yeah, and it's going to go da 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 da, and you have to start.
That's right.
And if it's not there, it's not there. So I think I don't know that I could be a singer for that very reason. I think I used to cripple myself.
I used to tape the first line of every song onto the top of the guitar, because if I got the first line, it was like the key that unlocked.
And then you're fine. Yeah.
Is there tricks like that you've done on stage to sort of get you there?
Yeah, and anything that takes that pressure off can be very useful. I did a play once called The Real Inspector Hound, where I played a theatre critic. So it's a sort of play with, you're watching a play and you're watching people watching a play. And you sit there with a theatre programme, and I got the heebie-jeebies about that. So I wrote out my entire part in tiny little letters inside this theatre programme. And once I did that, I was absolutely fine.
And you probably didn't have to look at it.
Never had to look at it once, but you knew that it was there.
That's such a strange phenomenon. It's also strange that you can almost learn something so well that it gets put away somewhere in your brain where you can't get back to it.
Yeah.
Like what you're describing, you would think first 2 weeks would be the hardest, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's the 100th
I think it is. I think it's the 100th performance that's hardest. Because the first 2 weeks you're worried about it. The first 2 weeks you've got proper, sort of identifiable, legitimate nerves, so that's sort of fine in a way. That's kind of that makes sense. It's later on when your brain starts doing those weird tricks that don't make any sense.
What's the example of the most nightmarish moment on stage that you're thinking of?
Oh, well, I did it once on the press night of Romeo and Juliet at the Royal Shakespeare Company. It was our second press night. It wasn't quite as bad as it might have been. But again, that speaks to what we've been saying, because we'd already done a long run of the play in Stratford-upon-Avon, and the whole season moved to London, and sort of you have another kind of version of opening night. But yeah, I'd done it for 100 performances. I knew it was in there, and then I started having that.
Then what happened?
It was coming. Now I can't remember the actual line now. This was quite a long time ago. I was playing Romeo. It was a few years back, it was coming up, and my brain started doing that thing. Well, you don't know how this speech ends. You don't know how this speech ends, and I just sort of made a bit up.
Really?
And I'm thinking, I'm making up Romeo, Shakespeare, the Royal Shakespeare Company, to an audience of critics who've seen this play 150 times over their careers.
They're like pulling out their...
But you know what? Nobody noticed.
You're kidding me.
Nobody noticed. I made sense of it. It wasn't in particularly elaborate Shakespearean language, and I curtailed it a little bit. But I knew what the sense was. I just couldn't quite figure out what the words were, and I just sort of...
You improvised Shakespeare.
I did a little bit, yeah, and nobody could tell. And if there's anything to credit sort of getting older and having done it a bit and experience with it, it's that you kind of go, do you know what? Yes, this is terrifying, but it will be fine, and nobody will probably know, and you'll be okay.
Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you like what you just saw, then why not subscribe? Click right here for lots more off camera. And if you want to see the hour-long version of these conversations, I'm going to give you the secret link. Here it is, offcamera.com. Check it out.